a lifestyle.
No, I can't let go. Need you so. You're the heartbeat of my city.
100.4 FM. Harare's Heartbeat. This moment is proudly brought to you by Shelter Zimbabwe. Shelter Zimbabwe. We nurture our society.
Good morning, Farai. How are you doing?
Good morning, Arnold. Good morning, Tash. And good morning, Dennis. And good morning to everyone listening in right now.
We missed you, Farai. We missed you. We missed you. It was starting to feel like summer here. We're not getting enough goosebumps.
Well, I'm hopefully going to start being a lot more motivational as opposed to being depressing.
No, you're not depressing. You're
Yeah.
inspiring. There's a difference. Yeah, there's a
We
difference.
thoroughly love that. And the irony of coming in after the traffic report. Cheapers. You know when you adjust, when you just take the wrong angle, or the wrong turn rather, to try and be able to get quicker to where you would normally get to, as opposed to using the route that you normally use.
Right.
And it is there now that you meet a situation which now compromises you being able to get to where you want to get to. It was an interesting lesson today. It really was. Because normally what I do is I use Enterprise Road, coming all the way straight into town. And then this time I was like, no, let me take steps and use Alps instead. I'm sure it'll be a lot faster. Oh, yes.
Have you watched the movie Wrong Turn?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
one.
All right.
But here's the key thing. The key thing was actually finally getting here. And I'm glad to be here.
Of course, you're here. So what are we on about this morning since you're here now?
Last week we were talking about renting and buying, right? And giving some of the comparisons and looking at also some of the smaller things that we think work best for us, but in the long term don't quite benefit us. Now, but a very inspiring story for you. We've got quite a few stands in Adelaide Park in Rua. And with a few of our sales team, we took a trip there last week just to go and have a look at a few of the assets there, see what the development is looking like. And had an inspirational story about a young man who has more or less gone up from foundation. He's more or less up to a roofing structure now. That's all that's left. And I'm going to give you the story about how this young man managed to finally get to where he got. He's got a 300 square meter stand. This young man sells cell phones. And this is the thing that gets very interesting, because we were having a discussion with Dennis earlier on last week, talking about how, okay, fine, you look at how much money you make and you see it as being very insignificant, but at the same time, when you compare yourself to someone else, you can see someone else who's selling cell phones and you think it's menial. This guy's just selling cell phones. But this guy bought a stand and is building on that stand now from selling cell phones. Now someone goes, is this that whole, okay, fine, I'm going to motivate you by telling you how I started off with a grain of rice? Not per se. But what simply happened is this young man started getting parts from China, right? And he was supplying parts for cell phone accessory suppliers, right? Over the space of a year, managed to get to the point now where he could then start buying actual hard devices, right? And then from there now developed a client base that he could then be able to make sure that he could on consignment offload his product. He scaled up his business, but this started off by parts. Little pieces of parts for cell phones. After a year, got to the point where you could now buy phones and then would sell these on go, would ship them over on consignment and then recoup in time. To get to the point now where he wanted to buy a 300 square meter stand. $22,000. That's how much he had to pay. His first deposit that he paid was $12,000. Now, someone goes, $12,000, and you go, hold on a second. What he managed to understand was what he was working towards. And a lot of the times we don't see it that way. We think, you know what, it's so expensive to be able to buy a stand, it's so expensive. But if you're working towards it, it's a simple example of someone who started out by selling cell phone accessories. And from there managed to now get to the point where, here's the key part, the client base. Now what he managed to do was this. He managed to understand that there are certain clients who can't pay him up front, but are in a position to be able to push his product and then pay him back. Now, that was the biggest risk in his business model, because someone goes, okay, how then do you just transition and make that happen? That was the biggest risk that he took. But here's what he knew. He had a cap moment. When he crossed his first 10,000 mark, he knew that's what I'm going to put forward as my deposit to be able to get this done. Because when I was listening to this story, I marveled at how, so this person spent 2 years planning on how to buy a stand. 2 years. And now that stand has been bought, fully paid for, $22,000 cash paid for. And he paid for that balance in 6 months.
Wow.
His next payment was $5,000, and the next payment was the balance. Now, that was only because he knew what he was working towards, and he started preparing himself for the process of buying the stand. So I think that's the key part when I keep bringing up the process. It can take you 2 years. It can. But if you consider it in the long term, what is 2 years to ensure that you secure yourself a stand? And now he's taking his time building, taking his time slowly, bit by bit. Go by there every other month here and there, you see something is coming up, and he's still selling cell phones. So one, let's not look lowly on some of the things that we are doing that can contribute towards generating revenue for us. But at the same time, let's critically apply them to ensure that what we want in the future, which is security, can be availed to you.
It's a moment brought to you by Shelter Zimbabwe. When we come back, Farai educates us about what exactly we could be working towards, because he says he was working towards something. He wanted to get a stand. Well, stands are available. We come back in a second and we talk about how exactly they are available and how we can be part of this movement.
A journey of life. With every drop of water comes life. With every life comes memories. Each memory that is shared creates a legacy to be remembered. Atosha Gardens, your cemetery of choice. 100.
The station everyone is talking about.
Well, this moment is proudly brought to you by Shelter Zimbabwe. Now, Farai Gwaza is in the building and educating us about what we can do to be part of the movement, all right? Now, Farai, you keep saying that stands are available, things are available. Where are they available and at how much?
All right, let's look at our first area of stands. That's in Adelaide Park, located about 20 kilometers from Harare CBD, off of Mutare Road at Sakunda Service Station, opposite Zimre Park. Currently, we only have stands measuring 300 square meters, priced at $16,000, inclusive of a VAT, requiring a minimum deposit of 20%, being $3,000, with the resultant balance payable in 36 monthly balances over 36 months. Servicing is at an advanced servicing stage, with surfacing and sewer reticulation being the main outstanding works, with works expected to be complete in the next 12 months. And we also have our Rock View Park, which is located just after and in close proximity to Sunway City off Mutare Road and at Sakunda Puma Service Station overlooking Zimre Park. We also have stands measuring 1,000 square meters priced at $30,000, inclusive of VAT. A minimum deposit of 20% is required, with the balance payable in monthly installments over a period of 36 months. Servicing is expected to take 6 to 8 months. And then we have Chijanje Phase 1 project, which is located near Mavuku off Mutare Road between Chijanje Mavuku to the west and Zimre Park to the east. Stands measure from 200 square meters, priced at $11,500 on a zero deposit, payable in 36 monthly installments. Servicing is currently in progress and expected to be complete in the next 12 months. Then going all the way to Lendi Park in Marondera, which is located near Lendi Park Primary, has a limited at 1,200 square meter stands, selling at $27,000 with flexible terms of up to 24 months. Flats also available in Plumtree along George Saluniga Road, Sakuva in Mutare, and Zimre, currently in the process. So if you want to get more information, please feel free to take advantage of our sales team on 071-674-4986 or 071-955-1234, or call us on our landline. That's 0242 555 443.
So we catch up next week.
Yeah, catch up next week. But I did give you guys a promise. I did promise you that by the time we get to the end of the year, we're owning stats.
Of course.
Yeah, that doesn't change, and we're going to test that out by the time we get to the end of the year.
I love it. I love it.
Wait, for clarity, Trukupiwa Maskenzere.
You know, I love the way you ask as to whether we're being given. Let's see how the show goes.
This moment was proudly brought to you by Shelter Zimbabwe.